Everything that has ever happened to you happened in the present moment, not in the past. The past is a memory of something that happened in a present moment that no longer exists, not in the future. The future is a mental projection of a present moment that has not yet arrived. Every conversation you have ever had, every decision you have ever made, every experience that has ever shaped you, all of it happened now, in a present moment that was, at the time, the only moment available. This sounds obvious when stated directly. It is not obvious at all when you examine how most people actually spend their attention. The majority of human mental activity is directed either backward or forward, reviewing what happened, anticipating what might happen, planning, evaluating, rehearsing, worrying, regretting. These activities are not inherently problematic. Planning has genuine value. Learning from the past has genuine value. The problem Tolle identifies is not that the mind visits past and future. It is that for most people, the mind almost never genuinely returns to the present. It conducts a brief transaction with the present moment, enough to receive the sensory data it needs to continue its running narrative, and then immediately retreats into the commentary that feels more real, more urgent, and more important than what is actually happening right now. Tolle calls this psychological time. The distinction he draws is between clock time, the practical use of time to plan, schedule, and learn from experience, which is necessary and valuable, and psychological time, the compulsive habit of living almost entirely in mental representations of the past and future rather than in the actual present moment where life is occurring and where everything real is actually taking place. Clock time is necessary. You need your past experience to navigate effectively. You need to anticipate future outcomes to make good decisions. The problem is not having access to past and future. The problem is the inability to return from them, to bring your attention back to where the actual situation, the actual person, the actual problem exists and is waiting for your real and undivided attention. The professional consequences of this are precise enough to state without abstraction. When you are in a meeting but your mind is still processing the interaction from an hour ago, you are not fully in the meeting. The quality of attention you bring to the people and the problem in front of you is reduced by however much of your awareness is still engaged with something that no longer exists. When you are working on a complex problem, but your mind is simultaneously simulating how the outcome will be received, your capacity is divided between the actual work and a projected future that may never arrive in the form being simulated, and that cannot be acted on from where you currently are. When you are in a conversation with someone who matters to you, and your mind is preparing your next response rather than receiving what they are actually saying, you are not in the conversation. You are adjacent to it, managing its projected trajectory rather than participating in the real exchange happening right now between two people. None of this announces itself as a problem. It is simply the texture of almost every professional interaction for most people. The chronic low-level absence from the present moment that accumulates across years into a professional life that was somehow always about to begin properly when conditions were finally right. Tolle describes the present moment as the only place where action is actually possible, the only place where genuine connection occurs, the only place where real creative insight arises. The past cannot be changed. The future cannot be acted in directly. Every real thing that has ever been done was done in a present moment by someone whose attention was genuinely there. The action before episode 4 is a single honest question applied to tomorrow at 3 distinct moments. Once in the morning, once in the middle of the working day, once in the evening. Stop and ask honestly, where is my attention right now? Not where my body is, not what I am technically doing, where my awareness actually is, in this room, in this conversation, on this task, or somewhere else entirely, in a mental narrative about something that is not happening now. Do not judge what you find. Just notice the gap between where you are and where your attention actually is. That gap, observed honestly and repeatedly over time, is where everything this series is building toward begins to become real and applicable. Episode 4 examines what is generating that gap The constructed identity that prefers the narrative of past and future to the exposed simplicity of being fully present. Subscribe so you do not miss it.